And there's 92 people on. Is your
sitting here by myself?
Are you on it to see if there's questions?
I can't watch the video. No. Okay. Welcome my device.
I'll talk something as I try to figure out this tablet.
Hi everybody, we're back here at Jax's house, out of the city, finally. I don't like having all the sick people's time that way.
Well, how did you have it yesterday?
Weren't on Stephen able to contact me.
It shouldn't make a difference.
This unknown error occurred.
Alright, so hello from Chicago. Want justice for Stephen and Brendan. Hello from Denmark. Hi from Glasgow, Scotland. Say something. Blah blah. Sending love. So there's 168 people on right now. So hello everybody.
Hi.
We're in a Chicago suburb right now, and it is 47 degrees. So we decided to come outside. Alright, so tell them where we went.
What, downtown? Brendan's oral arguments hearing this morning. 7th Circuit Court, Federal Court. Nerves had to calm down. Finally, something in our systems, but...
Alright, so today was oral arguments for Brendan, and each side got 20 minutes to speak. Oh, my notes are still in the car. I should grab those too. So each side got 20 minutes to speak to present why the confession should or should not be admissible. And the state went first. He was a really young guy. He looked like a kid. And the middle judge, Rovner, she seemed to be way on top of it, and that the confession just it was he was led to say everything that he said.
Does anybody have any questions? I feel like we're just repeating ourselves on the same thing. If you guys have any questions about the hearing today in Pacific, you can ask us.
Yeah, there's no ruling today. People have asked that a bunch of times. There's no ruling today. Brendan does not go home today. It could take 6 to 9 months before there'll be a ruling. So it's just another wait game. So, yeah, so Audrey asking when will he be free? We have to wait for the judge's ruling, and it could take 6 to 9 months. So our system just works incredibly slow.
There was no outcome today. Today was just hearing both sides' arguments and the judges asking questions that they had for each side. The judge's final thing was, we'll basically have our decision down the, thank you for your I don't know. I'm just tongue-tied right now.
Yeah, so Sarah, how is everybody feeling about the possible outcome? Positive, negative? We always try to stay positive, and so I refuse to think negatively. Brendan and Stephen are the same way. Like, I talked to Stephen yesterday, and Stephen's convinced that he's going home in a couple of months. So they consistently stay positive, and that's what we do too. What my feelings are from what we heard, it did seem like the judges were taking, as I said, everything under advisement. They were questioning both sides equally. I did not feel like they were tougher or easier on one side or the other. They had really good questions for both sides, but it just seemed to me that they know that his confession was coerced. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of, like, they're comparing other cases on ages and IQs of when it's been coerced. I don't know the legal process. I don't get it. I don't know why there has to be something that happened previously that you could go off of. In my opinion, it shouldn't matter. Every case should be different and have their own merits. But I think it's clear to anybody who has watched those confessions that it was coerced, that Brendan was led to say everything that he said. So I don't think his age or his IQ or whether his mom knew he was there or not, or the mom gave permission or not, or any of that, I don't think any of that should matter. Emily, you like my hat?
I know, I was about to say, mine's in the house. I'm sorry. I was stuffing in my face earlier.
This is for Kent Pellegrini.
Free Kent.
Yes, Free Kent. You can find their Facebook page, Justice the number 4 Kent. He's another client of Kathleen Zellner, and he just won last week the rights to his evidentiary hearing. So it's just another person wrongfully accused who's in prison for something he didn't do. And it sucks that you have to fight so hard to bring these people home. It's easy to prosecute them, hard to get them back out.
We did see Zellner face to face for a second. She was walking out. She looked she was like she was on a mission. She was walking, and
she was with Doug.
She was with Doug, and she was wearing all black.
And her boots.
And we're walking to a parking structure down the road. So, of course, press was following her. She was ignoring, but
lots of press there.
We walked out and got bombarded by at least 5-6 cameras.
Yeah.
As soon as we walked out, we did not stop to talk to them inside the building. We walked directly out of the building, preparing to leave to do our live thing, and we're stopped.
Lots of press there. Ken Kratz was there with his girlfriend, who she kept rubbing his back the whole time, and he was sweating. The Hallbacks were there. The both brothers, Teresa Hallback's mother and stepfather, they were all there. Who else? I think that's pretty much it. There was like around 125 people in the courtroom, and they were mostly law students. I didn't see any other supporters there. So it was just us and a whole bunch of law students. Like the boy that was ahead of me in line, he said he's never seen Making a Murderer. He knew nothing about the case. He just saw that it was going on there, so he came to watch. So
no, Audrey, Brendan does not have a girlfriend. Sorry. Brendan is focused on his freedom, and that will always come first.
Well, and somebody asked, and that's for you to answer, what is the thing that Brendan's really looking forward to doing when he goes home?
His mom's cooking. Playing video games, reaching out to supporters through gaming. I think that at this point he just wants to be able to take a shower when he wants to, and
not be timed.
Yeah, go make a sandwich when he wants to, or go to the grocery store. That, I believe, is where Brendan is. It's where he was, what he wants. So he's pretty simple. He's a simple guy.
And he's doing okay in prison. He's not in any danger. He's not getting beat up or anything like that. He's okay. There was something else. Was Brendan able to get the donations to his canteen? Yeah, the canteen money goes directly to Brendan, and same thing for Stephen. So when we have that on the pinned post on Stephen Avery Project, you can get the addresses to both Stephen and Brendan's canteens, and also how you can write to them. And I do also post how you can write to Kent Pellegrini as well as Melissa Kaluzinski, who are both other clients of Zellner's.
Brendan has not watched Making a Murderer. He has not watched it at all. He's been told about it, obviously, but he has not watched it.
Right. Is he going to stay or move away when he gets out?
I don't know. I really can't comment on that.
Yeah, originally when he was going for a bond hearing, he had to have a plan in place. So the court, since he would be out on bond, the court needs to know where he is and all, so all these things had to be set up for him. But if he is freed, he's not under those restrictions anymore. He would be a freed man, so he could go and do whatever he wants. When is the new series started? And yes, somebody asked if Making a Murderer was there. They were there. They were filming. There is no release date for Making a Murderer 2 yet. So everybody thinks it will coincide with Stephen's case when that goes to court. People have said March, but you just don't know. We don't know when the testing's coming back. You don't know. So everybody's just waiting. I am Jax West.
I'm Amy McGlinchey.
And I'm part of Free Brendan. There's a Free Brendan Facebook page as well as freebrendan.org, which is owned by Injustice Anywhere. That's how I started off in this whole advocating world. And then Amy?
I started by going to a rally with my family in Manitowoc, and I then was seeked out by Barb and Scott, and I represented the Dassey family up until November.
So I arranged a protest against Ken Kratz. Was going to be this is a Chicago suburb where I live. I'm actually like 5 minutes away from Zellner's office. I don't even know if I turn the no. You can't see her building from here. Ken Kratz was going to be doing a speaking engagement here last year. I started organizing a protest for that, and then it was canceled. The event was canceled, so no need for that. I was also arranging a protest against Fassbender and Wiegert. We're going to be speaking at a law convention, a law enforcement convention here, and their event was canceled, so didn't need to do that. I arranged for the Manitowoc rally that was in June, when I had to fight with Manitowoc County, that they initially wanted upwards of $2,000 in money for permit and security and cleanup fees and all that kind of fun stuff. And so I got the ACLU involved. And then I've gone to see Strang and Buting, and I've written articles on that. I went and saw Nyrider and Drizzen, and I have articles on that. They're all on freebrendan.org. I'm going to see Buting in just a couple weeks for his book tour, and I'm going to be getting some autographed books from him there, and we'll be raffling them off or auctioning them off or something on Stephen Avery Project to raise money for the canteens. And so now Amy and I took over Stephen Avery Project about a month ago. Was it a month? Or is it longer?
Shortly after New Year's.
So Curtis, who started Stephen Avery Project in December of 2015, he's got a young, growing family. Well, he's got one baby and another one on the way, and working full time to support his family. And he had to make the tough decision that he needed to put all his time and energy on his family. And so Amy and I were asked to take over the Stephen Avery Project. And since we feel very strongly about Stephen and Brendan's innocence and to support the cause, we took it over, and we've been here ever since.
People want to recap on what happened today.
Okay.
What happened today was just the oral arguments, the Seventh Court.
Seventh Circuit of Appeals.
Of Appeals Court, yes. The state side, he was grilled. He was grilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was grilled, and half the time he didn't know how to answer most of their questions.
Yeah.
He looked like he was 21 years old. Didn't have a clue what he was getting into. Laura was brilliant. She did not back down. She was firm. She stood her ground with Brent, on their questions. And I'm glad they asked a lot of the questions they did, because a lot of the questions is what we ask. Why? Why did he say, "Come on, Brendan, who shot her in the head?" The judges asked those questions specifically to the state, and they needed to be asked. It needed to be out there. Right now we're waiting for a reply, and that's all we can do. We don't know how long it'll take, when it will happen, and this does decide whether or not the confession will stay thrown out, where Brendan is innocent and free, or if they will reverse the decision that the confession was thrown out.
Emily, the state's main argument is that Brendan's confession is not coerced, that he said these things of his own free will.
That he wasn't promised anything, but
what Nyrider points out is he thought he was going back to school. And the state will try to say that he was read his Miranda rights and knew what was at risk. No, he didn't. Because why is he asking about going back to school? He clearly did not know. And they told him something the Rovner judge kept pointing out is how they would say to him, "I'm not a cop right now. I'm a father. And I just want to hug you right now." So it was also just, leading this kid on and leading him to where they wanted him to go and to what they wanted him to say. And Rovner also pointed out the thing we talk about all the time is what happened to her head. Punched her, cut her hair, and then, all right, I'm just going to come out and say this, who shot her in the head? That's where the state's case gets completely blown away, because Brendan would have had to have said that on his own, because at that point when they were questioning him, it had not been out anywhere that she had been shot. They had only learned the day before that an alleged skull fragment had some lead or substance consistent with lead on it. So now it's, okay, she was shot. So they need somebody to say it. Who are they going to get to say it? Brendan. So Brendan was called back in, and they tried to get him to say it. And you just can tell that he just keeps saying anything, because he's fishing to find what they want to hear. And when he gets to what they want to hear, then they're all happy and they tell him good job. Yeah.
No, the Avery family and Dassey family were not there today. Barb decided to stay home.
Brendan was not there. It's a long drive for the family to come down, and they have jobs, and it'd be nice if everybody could just take off of work whenever they wanted, but they don't have that luxury. So
I know that firsthand.
Yeah, but Amy's been talking with Barb, and she talked to her last night and was talking with her today, and so has been keeping her up to date on what happened. There's only one man guilty of this. Yeah, Sarah, I love that when he says what Kratz says. There's only one man guilty of this, but then you tried two men. I don't get it. There were 3 judges, and I believe it's a majority rule. Not all 3 judges have to agree.
2 out of 3 have to agree. There is, if Brendan was to lose, Nyrider can then appeal their decision to the U.S. Supreme Court. So it could go on to the Supreme Court, which obviously takes more precious time.
Yeah. So again, for people that tune in and ask the same questions, that today was just oral arguments. Each side only had 20 minutes to speak. The judges would question them, and now the judges will take everything they heard today under advisement, and then they have, it could be 6 to 9 months before they rule. So it's just a waiting game now. And Stephen's case, still waiting for all the testing to be done, be finished, and then Zellner will take it from there. Tracy keeps asking, what are we talking about? We are talking about Brendan Dassey's oral arguments today.
Is it hard to find people who have not? Where I'm from, in northern Michigan, we don't have a lot of internet up there unless you live in one of the main cities. There are a lot of people who have not seen the series. Maybe when I talk to people from my area, maybe 1 out of 10 have actually seen it. Now here, and closer to Wisconsin and overseas, a lot of people have. So it just depends on where you're at, where you're located at, as far as majority of Netflix people that watch it.
So was this Brendan's case today? Yes. Again, we're discussing Brendan's oral arguments from today. What happens if they rule that he's innocent? Is he freed immediately? Emily, I know you're on there. Maybe you know better than I. I am not a legal expert, so I don't think he's released immediately, but
it'll take a few days. Obviously, everything at a federal level takes a little bit of time and paperwork. But yes, if he wins, but you have to understand, the state can appeal it too to the Supreme Court. So this is where it gets frustrating and it gets aggravating, because even if Brendan wins too, it could still be appealed to the Supreme Court from the state. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that they'll just go away. Leave it alone.
Right.
But I doubt that'll happen.
And questions we were asked yesterday, if Brendan is released, does that mean Stephen is released, or vice versa? No, they're two separate cases. So I know it doesn't seem to make any sense, but they were tried separately, totally separate circumstances and everything too. Just because one goes, the other one does not. Yes, Amanda saying it's a paperwork game. Absolutely. And then we're being asked, are we looking positive? Okay.
Yes, I do. I believe that 2 out of 3 of those judges will favor Brendan on his side. But I don't know. I always try to prepare for the worst case scenario in every situation. So I have to keep in my mind that even if something doesn't go our way, there's another chance.
I stay positive. I was when
I'm a worrier. I'm the one that's nervous and worried about everything at all times. So that's just my personality.
Yeah, during the state presented first, and Judge Rovner seemed to go at the state pretty hard. There was a couple times, I know we have to have decorum in the courtroom, but I wanted to go yes when she was saying the things of who shot her in the head, and just all the things that we say, or anybody who watches Making a Murderer, the things you say when you watch that.
The state even got kind of cocky at the end when he's just like, I only got to say one thing and then I'm going to go sit down. And the judge was like, well, if we want you to sit down, and the courtroom laughed. So he was a little bit arrogant on the ending of it. So. But what he was saying to me didn't make any sense. What's common sense to us,
right?
He sounded like he was, I'm sorry, how the hell did you get a law degree? I don't understand it.
Yeah. Amy and I are not family. We know the family. She was at one time the Dassey Taddock spokesperson and the administrator for Barbara Taddock's Facebook group. And I was a moderator for that group. And now we are Stephen Avery Project, and wrongfully abused. Wrongfully abused is where we discuss any case of the wrongfully accused. And Emily, who's on here currently, her fiance Kent Pellegrini is one of the people we talk about. And then Melissa Kaluzinski. She was featured recently on 48 Hours. They're both Zellner clients. Melissa's been in prison for 8 years for a murder, or an alleged murder that she did not commit. And Kent is in there for raping his wife. And he's been in prison for 1.5 years. And he's innocent as well. So you can go to wrongfully abused if you want to discuss any other case there is.
And I have met Brendan. I know him personally, so it was really hard for me in the courtroom because I know Brendan and how he is. It's hard for me to hear certain things about him that the state says. The hardest part was when they kept saying, well, no, these were not, he was not promised anything, but when you tell someone like Brendan and like my son Jacob, who are the same mentality, that if you just tell us if you just tell us this, we're here to help you, we'll have your back, all this stuff, to them, those are promises. They don't know anything to do with the state and how they manipulate people to get what they want. They have no understanding of that at all.
Wrongfully abused, AB as in boy, for Todd, who is asking. Please comment on Stephen's mom. I know a lot of us are hoping she is okay. She's doing as well as to be expected. There's a lot of hope with Zellner that he will be going home and soon.
Yes, allegedly.
Raped his wife. Hi, printer guy.
Oh, well, I thought you were at work.
Are they still going to air the new episodes?
Oh, they will. They'll do that definitely, but we just don't know when. There's so much going on right now.
Right. The story's still developing, so it's when you stop. Will you guys be on the next making?
I don't know if I want to answer that.
Well, I just say the easiest thing is she did film with Making a Murderer back in the summer, but if she's on it or not, we won't know until it airs. If they were just using, they're filming everything. That's the thing. I don't like when people say Making a Murderer was pushing one side or the other. They film everything they can get. It's not the documentarian's fault that Kratz or the Hallback family chose not to speak to them. They wanted all sides. So that's why they talked to Emily, or to Amy. I keep calling you and Emily, switching your names. So we don't know if she'll be on, and we don't know when it's going to air.
As far as we know, Stephen does not have any contact with Jody.
No. Yeah. I talked to, Stephen called me yesterday, and he's got a cold, so he's trying to shake off the cold, but other than that, he's feeling good. He's still confident that he thinks he's going to be free by summer. That guy just constantly stays positive that everything is going to come to an end. That's when I asked him, what does he want me to say to his supporters for him? And he said he wanted to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and that the end will be here soon and he will be home. Sharon asking, how do we feel it went? I feel I stay positive, but I also feel it went well, because it's obvious that that was a coerced confession, and that's what all the argument was about today, is his confession. So, but then the whole law thing comes in when they're comparing it to the Sullivan case. I don't know anything about it, so comparing it to this 11-year-old child when they confess to something. So I don't know, but in my heart and my mind, I say that this went well.
Yes, I do believe it went well, even though I'm the pessimistic one, I believe, right? Just scared, worried, you know what I mean? It's just, but yes, 2 out of 3 judges I liked, the other one, not so much.
And there is, I don't know if our moderators have posted the link in here, but the audio of today's oral arguments are online already. So you can go and listen to it for yourself. We were there, I think it was around 45, 50 minutes only. So you can go and hear it for yourself. And yes, Lissa, after this ends, when we end it, we keep it, it'll stay up on Stephen Avery Project, so you can play it at any time and start it over from the beginning. I missed if you're going to be in the next season. No, nobody knows. Amy filmed, we don't know. Is Stephen even close to getting a court date? Don't know. You know, Zellner tells, she tweets, or her people tweets, what they want us to know. So, and everything else they keep to themselves. Same thing with Brendan's lawyers. You know, Brendan's lawyers don't even do the tweeting. Like Knight Rider, she's not on any social media.
No.
So.
And I was amazed how cool, calm, and collective she looked, sitting there waiting for it to start. They were laughing and smiling, and I definitely felt very good, positive vibes from Laura as we were waiting for it all to start this morning.
Nobody knows, or I don't know, I haven't heard anything on what the Hallback family thinks. They stay out of the press completely. They were there today. Both of her brothers and her mother and her stepfather were in the courtroom sitting over by Ken Kratz. I don't know if they did any press afterwards. I don't think so. They're not.
They didn't come
people.
in the same way we did. For some reason, we never saw them come up or go down. They had to have came in a different entrance or went into a different room. So.
And Jessica, no, we're not waiting on something. We went to the oral arguments, and now we're just updating on what we saw and giving people the opportunity to ask questions. We're not waiting on anything. The ruling could take up to 6 to 9 months.
And as we were standing there waiting in line, Kratz was about 4 people in front of us. He recognized us. He stared repeatedly, looked us up and down, even mouthed a bunch of stuff to the chick next to him about us. So somehow he knew who we were. I don't know if it was because of how close I was to Barb and Scott, or the fact that he's stalking every part of this case. That's my opinion. I think he is an internet stalker on everybody.
Yeah, him or his girlfriend. Adam is saying, so if Brendan wins today, he won't win today, it'll take 6 to 9 months. Will he be released even if it gets taken to the Supreme Courts by the county until he faces his next hearing? And still, we have to wait the 6 to 9 months.
Bond issue. If he was to lose and it went to the Supreme Court, it would become a bond issue again. He'd have to go through the whole bond thing, being released until the hearing and all of that all over again.
And did Ken Kratz speak? He went to the press was waiting downstairs in the building. They had all their cameras and stuff on tripods, and there were microphones set up to talk to people. Amy and I didn't have any part of that. We went outside the courthouse, and where then we had press come up to us there to talk to us. And so it has been, people have told us that Kratz did go and speak. We haven't seen that yet because we came home from the city, we got lunch, we ate lunch real quick, and then got back on here. So
I wanted to watch 12 o'clock news, but I couldn't.
Maybe. And Jeff says, I think the state going on record that they have no physical evidence supporting this conviction and that it is based completely on Brendan's confession will be a card played in ending this. And that's right. That's something that the judges kept asking. The male judge kept asking, is there any physical evidence that proves that her throat was cut, that she was raped? Was there any physical evidence linking Brendan to that, or even being inside the trailer? And the state had to say, no, there's nothing. All they have is Brendan's confession, that those things even happened.
Yeah, it did feel good when you heard the state guy say out loud there was no forensic evidence, no DNA evidence at all to support it. And he admitted it. But then how can you have a confession to something that there's no proof of?
Right. Thanks, Mike Johnson. Yeah, Kratz looked nervous on camera. If any of you are moderators or anybody there, if you have the link to Kratz's on-camera interview, please post it in this thread so people can check it out.
Yeah, he was sweaty. He was patting his, wiping his forehead with a Kleenex and his face and all of that.
Amy and I were trying to get pictures of him when we were waiting in line.
Get one.
Yeah, I got the one that I posted, but and then people came out and said no pictures or filming, so we had to put it away.
Kind of got told to put them away. So.
Claire, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a lot, how sweaty was Kratz? And then Jeff said 74. Was Ken Slimeball Kratz's girlfriend as sweaty as him? No, but she also, I don't know if she was looking at us or not, but they're over on the other side, on the guilty side of the courtroom, and she just kept looking over in our direction. It seemed to me to be looking right at us and just glaring at us as she was sitting there the whole time doing this on Kratz. And he's wiping his brow with a Kleenex.
Yes, Making a Murderer was there. Maura and Laura were there. That was it. No crews, no filming crews, just them.
No, they had a filming crew there.
They did?
Yeah. Because they had earpieces on and everything and were being directed and had to, so the crews were doing something.
Is that why they were outside acting all like crazy?
Uh-huh.
In different corners?
Yep. And they were trying to hide from the cameras too. They did not want to be filmed.
They didn't want to be filmed on any films or any taping.
Samantha, what is the latest? Again, it was just oral arguments. Both sides had 20 minutes to speak. And now the 3 judges can take 6 to 9 months before they rule. So it's a waiting game from here.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Any questions about, you can ask about Brendan, Stephen, any of the other cases. Yeah, I know, Kratz. Let's talk about what?
Do not address the Avery Jackson family with them no matter what you say.
Who said that? Oh. There is a true crime convention that is coming up in Indianapolis in June. And they just released in the last week that some of the panelists are going to be Ken Kratz, Fassbender, and Nancy Grace. So I posted that saying, and to let everybody know that in my opinion, anywhere Kratz is going to go to peddle his book, then I want to go and speak my piece about Kratz and his book. I contacted the CrimeCon people and let them know that I was extremely upset that they were only showing one side of the story. They said that's not their intent, that they reached out to Zellner and Strang and Buting and aren't able to get them. And so now they want me to submit for Amy and I to go to speak on the other side against Kratz and Fassbender and Nancy Grace. So I'll submit that and we'll see if we're there. But either way, Amy and I are talking about going there. And I know people in the past have said, why would I try and stop somebody's freedom of speech? Ken Kratz has the right to speak. He absolutely does.
So do we.
He has the right to, peddle his book of fiction. But we have the
So
right
we
to
do.
say that it's a book of fiction and to speak on behalf of these innocent men that Kratz put in prison. How are Brendan and Stephen holding up? They're both really positive. Who are you guys to, Brendan and Stephen? We run Stephen Avery Project, and when we took it over a month or so ago, then Stephen gave me a call, and we discussed Stephen Avery Project on whether or not, because yes, it was Curtis's page before, and Stephen had a very close relationship with Curtis. And so I discussed with him if he wanted to continue on with Stephen Avery Project now that Amy and I were running it, and he said he wanted to stay with us, that we were his official representatives and the official page. And so he checks in with me every so often. So like he called me Super Bowl Sunday, and I didn't get that call, and then he called me yesterday and I spoke to him yesterday. So we're just like everybody out there watching. We both saw Making a Murderer and knew that these men were innocent, and then wanted to do something about it, and things just kind of snowballed from there, and here we are today. Yes, Nancy Grace thinks he's guilty. She's an idiot. And now it says something. No, I still see it. Oh, and I did post on Stephen Avery Project that this Friday night on Dateline is going to be Making a Murderer story, which is featuring Ken Kratz. So if you want to watch that, I will be recording it, I will watch it, and I will write up a summary of that. Jerry Buting will be on there as well. Both men have books that they're currently selling. So if you want to watch that, it's on this Friday on Dateline NBC.
Barb and Scott were not at the hearing.
And how many supporters were there for Brendan? As far as I know, it was just Amy and I and our spouses. Everybody else there seemed to be, well, the Hallback family and Kratz and his girlfriend, and then it was all law students. But it wasn't a big courtroom. There was maybe a total of 125 people in that room.
There was an overflow room that people that didn't make it into the courtroom itself, there was an overflow room where they sent them that had a TV screen to watch it.
Yeah.
We don't know who was in that room.
Yeah. So, why did Curtis give up the project? I talked about this earlier. He's got a young, growing family. One baby, another baby on the way. He works full-time and overtime to support his family, and he had to make the decision to put all his time and energy into his family. He still believes in Stephen and Brendan's innocence, but he just didn't have the time needed to run Stephen Avery Project. And so Amy and I were asked to take it over. What crime did Kratz commit? He was sexting clients or girlfriends or wives of his clients, and so that's where you get the I am the prize and all this stuff. So yeah, so and then he became a drug addict, which that'll be something that's in the book. He's claiming that this case is what made him a drug addict and lose everything. I don't know how winning this important case, when he won this case, and you didn't have Making a Murderer then, to just see all the overwhelming evidence that proves that these men are innocent, people all thought these guys were guilty. Kratz was looked at as a good thing. So he wasn't getting death threats or attacks back then. The Avery and Dassies were, not Ken Kratz. So it's a nice try for him to say that this case is what brought him to abuse prescription pills, which then caused him to sex poor abuse victims.
Yes, Sharon, you're absolutely correct. There's no proof to back up Brendan's confession. There's no evidence, there's no forensics, there's no DNA, there's no nothing. We will not know what happens for at least, my guess, I'm saying 60 to 120 days is my guess when we might hear something.
Well, the judges aren't taking this lightly. You know, they really were, as we said, it seemed like they went at both sides. There was not one side they favored or one side they were harder on than the other. They really are trying to get a full grasp of this. So they're going to take, as I said, everything into consideration, and they're going to have time to think about this and confer before they come to a decision. They're not going to just jump to it.
I just hope that they're taking this time to make sure that their decision is foolproof. There's no holes, there's no loopholes, there's no... Everything is considered when the decision comes in.
And Olivia, yes, there is a audio recording of today. The link is posted in this thread, and you'll be able to find it all over.
Yes, Laura was very confident in her answers. She spoke well, clearly.
She's just amazing, because if you've seen Laura Nyrider, she looks like this little mousy, meek, little sweet girl that, you know, and they said something to her. I can't remember what it was, but she forcefully disagreed with the judges.
She said she respectfully disagrees with them, but, you know, that's what I meant by she didn't back down.
Can the state appeal again if they rule in Brendan's favor?
Yes, to the Supreme Court is what we're guessing. Because the Supreme Court would be the next step up.
So we've got roughly 10 more minutes. So any questions you have, get them in now.
I have a long drive back home. I gotta be back to work tomorrow.
So this could take years? Yeah, it certainly feels like it. I'm going to stay on the positive side and say that this should be done this year. But I said that last year.
I do kind of get the feeling, too, that the judges and the legal system itself are kind of burnt out on this case. They want it to end. They don't want to drag this out. You know, look at Duffin's responses. It should be black and white, crystal clear. So...
And Lissa, yes, it's Dateline NBC this Friday is having a Making a Murderer episode that features Ken Kratz and Jerry Buting. So Tammy, so what's going on? Again, this was oral arguments today. Each side had 20 minutes to speak, and the judges now could take 6 to 9 months before they decide. So Brendan was not there. Brendan will not be released anytime soon.
Brendan has now, March 1st will be, what, 11 years? 12 years. March 1st will be 12 years Brendan has been locked up.
Does Stephen have to go through the same as Brendan? Could the state appeal Stephen's also? Well, Stephen's case is they're doing the whole DNA testing. Yeah. So that will be if whatever they're testing, if something conclusively comes out that there's no way that this was Stephen, or then that should be the end of it, correct?
That would be the end of it. If he's exonerated by DNA evidence, then his case basically would be over. The only thing that they could do was say how the testing was done. They could appeal that, but
I am roasting. It is warm. I'm in all black, so now my pants are like burning my legs. When I talked to Stephen yesterday, he wants to do t-shirts. I know we've talked about that before. We do not have t-shirts designed at this time. If any t-shirts we do, I've already sent Steven some pictures and stuff, and we going back and forth. He says that he enjoys that it's something for him to do to come up with his shirt. For both Brendan and Steven, we talked about this last night. Their canteens, they have canteens for you to donate to. That money goes directly to them, so they can buy things for them. Toothpaste, socks, treat, candy, stuff like that. That money 100% goes to them, and when they're released, any money left in their canteen or commissary will go home with them. There is no other fund for Steven other than Kathleen Zellner has one on her page.
My poor daughter, she goes, what happened? Is the hearing over? I go, yeah. I said, I'll tell you later. She goes, he lost, didn't he?
Oh.
I'm like, oh no, Jessica, he didn't lose, honey. There was no decision yet.
Brendan's mom, Barb, does have a GoFundMe for Brendan. And so she just holds on to that money for him, because when Steven and Brendan go home, people think they automatically get this check that they were wrongfully imprisoned. No, they don't. And that would take years for them to get. And they can't just go get a job. That's a safety issue. So they are going to need to support themselves. And for people to say they could just do interviews, again, no, they can't. They can't go sell interviews, because if they're going to have a civil case, anything they say or any money they make off of doing interviews could hurt them in a civil suit. So they will have no way of supporting themselves. So that's what that is for. Nobody's saying you have to donate to any of those things. That's if you want. We just let you know where you can do that if you chose to. We also have the addresses where you can write to them. They both like getting your letter. You won't necessarily get a letter back, but just know they enjoy hearing from their supporters. Is there a link for these canteens? There's a pinned post on Steven Avery Project, and there are pictures in there that list the addresses on how you can donate to both of their canteens.
Okay, for my daughter, who's finally on now, Jessica, both sides gave their sides. Judges asked some tough questions. Laura Nyrider was amazing. She was calm, confident, stood her ground. The state was kind of looked like a 21-year-old boy, straight out of law school, stumbled a lot. Didn't understand a lot of what was going on. All in all, it went very well. And it will be probably, our guessing would be 4 to 9 months before there's a decision made. But I will tell you all this. It was an amazing experience to be there and to see it firsthand, how it works. It really was. It was an amazing experience.
Al, the addresses are in the same pin post. So the addresses to write them and the way to donate to their canteens. And I try to post those once a week too, just to update people. Because we get new people every day and stuff gets lost. So today I'll post it again, just so people have it. Yeah, Daniel, 9 months. It could take 9 months.
It could take up to 9 months. We're hoping way before that.
Claire, I want a Don't Be Strange t-shirt. My boyfriend owns a print shop, and I had him make me this shirt for when I went and saw Strang and Buting in Milwaukee almost a year ago now. We got 6 more minutes, 5 more minutes.
You're all very welcome. We know that you guys are passionate about this case also, and we just want you guys to feel like you're a part of it.
Are the boys still receiving tons of mail? Yes, they get tons of mail. Brendan, at the beginning, he was very diligent in answering every letter he got. but it was hurting his hand, and it's a lot. And then there was so much going on with his case, and they're only allowed, right? Go into that. They're only allowed so much pieces of mail in there.
They're only allowed to have, I believe, it was 25 letters at a time in their cell. Well, that's Brendan's. At least I know that. I don't know.
Yeah,
how
all
much Stephen
prisons are
is.
different.
And what was happening is sometimes Brendan would get more than 25 pieces of mail a day. So it got to be kind of overwhelming. And there was talk that he could have gotten in trouble for it, but thankfully he didn't. So.
Well, and the thing you need to realize, like, for Brendan, because Brendan is somebody that we were very close with, we worked with Brendan a lot, is he's only allowed so many books and so many this and that, and anything that goes over, he's got to then mail home to his mom. You know, his mom holds every letter. He's got every letter from every supporter
Barb
he's ever
has
gotten.
totes and totes, like Rubbermaid totes, full of letters.
But
from supporters.
the money comes out of his canteen to pay to ship this stuff to his mom. And once it leaves the prison, she can't on a visit now go, hey, these extra letters came here, here's your letters. She can't bring them in. So that's why there's times that the family wants to restrict the amount of letters that goes there. We don't want Brendan penalized for it. Do they get any support from Damien Eccles or any of the West Memphis 3? I know I follow Damien Eccles on Facebook, and I know when Making a Murderer first came out, he did like what all of us did and had the split face, you know, so half Stephen's face, half Damien's face. And he said the same thing that all of us who have watched the West Memphis 3, that Brendan, because when I watched Making a Murderer for the first time, Jesse Miskelly is what I instantly thought of. Another person with a low IQ who doesn't understand what's happening and was coerced into this false confession and incriminating himself. But Damien doesn't do anything else to, really support the cause. He's living his life. He's got his art and going about doing all of that. So he's not really in the wrongfully accused world that much. But what we do have that we discussed earlier is we work with 2 other clients of Kathleen Zellner's that are also in Illinois, Kent Pellegrini's family and Melissa Kaluzinski's family. And so our 3 groups have really bonded and support each other. So like we went to Kent Pellegrini's case last week, and along with the Pellegrini family, the Kaluzinskis were there as well. And the Kaluzinskis really wanted to come today and weren't able to, and same thing with Kent's fiance Emily. So, but you'll be hearing from them soon. So it's really nice to have this support system of all these families that are going through the same thing. Yes, Emily, rock on Team Zellner. Woohoo!
She looked good today, though. She looked like...
Yeah, Emily Zellner was wearing her boots.
She looked like a class action lawsuit walking around. She looked very stern, very down to business. That was Zellner in one.
She walked out with her associate, Doug. Doug is actually who was presenting Kent's case last week. And the press was all over him. She wasn't giving them the time of day. But the press wasn't in her face either. You didn't see them saying, Ms. Zellner, just one comment, because nobody's going to talk to Zellner unless she tells you you can talk to her. That woman means business.
Emily, if you talk to Kent, tell him we said hi.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day, and God bless.
Will the original prosecution be held accountable when their convictions are, or if they are overturned? No, they're going to get away with it.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if anyone will ever be accountable for Brendan losing 12 years of his life. But all we can do is hope.
Are you really snuggling in my sweat jacket right there? Emily says she will. He's supposed to call this afternoon. Yeah, I sent him 2 letters, and I haven't heard back from him. So make sure he knows that I have written to him. I don't know if I've written the wrong thing on his letters. All right, we're at an hour. We're ready to end this.
I gotta head home here soon. I'm gonna spend a little more time with Jax, and then I'll be heading home. So you guys have a good day. Happy Valentine's Day, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. The puppies say goodbye too.